Disney's Polynesian Village Resort is one of the most popular resorts on property, and last year I had the opportunity to stay in their newest building, Disney's Polynesian Tower. So today I'm going to share an overview, room tour, and my overall thoughts, pros and cons of staying at Disney's Polynesian, specifically the Poly Tower. Hey, I'm Kinsey, a Disney-loving mama and travel agent who helps families tailor their vacations to fit their budget, pace, and personality. Okay, so if you've been here for a couple of the other Disney resort reviews, I like to start out with just what Disney says about them and kind of give you an overall vibe of the resort we're talking about and what you can expect. For Disney's Polynesian Resort specifically, it says, celebrate the spirit of the South Pacific at the oasis of tropical palms, lush vegetation, and so much more. From moonlit nights immersed in the outdoor island ambiance to the exotic tastes of our world-class restaurants, discover the signature tropical atmosphere that's made at Disney's Polynesian Village Resort a favorite Disney destination since 1971. So again, kind of building off of similar to what I said, that it is one of Disney's popular ones. They have now the Island Tower that we're going to be talking about today. They do, as that kind of mentioned, have some of the more popular food, like Ohana is at Disney's Polynesian, which also has a character breakfast where you can meet Lilo and Stitch. Wailulu is at the Poly Tower, which I think is such great food. I specifically went out of my way to eat there again this past December. They have Movies Under the Stars and different things like that other resorts have, and they have multiple pools, the lava pool, and at the Poly Tower they also have the Moana splash pad, and they have a couple other pools as well. And then when you are at Disney's Polynesian Village Resort, you can also see the electrical water pageant at night from that resort as well. So just a couple of fun things and what you can expect for the overall vibe and expectations at Disney's Poly Tower and Disney's Polynesian Village Resort. So as I mentioned, I stayed here last year. It was actually last summer, so not quite a year ago yet. And I stayed there with some friends and fellow travel agents. So I didn't stay with my family, but I am going to talk about just some pros, cons, reviews, overall thoughts of the resort and how it can tie into a family stay, or even if you are staying with some friends or any other trips that you might be taking. Overall, I have to say that I really did love this resort and I cannot wait to stay here again in the future. I'm a big beach tropical vacation girly as well, so having those vibes tied in at Disney World into a Disney vacation is just a 10 out of 10 for me specifically. So I have to preface with saying that I did love this resort, but as always, as the other overviews and just as you stay anywhere, I feel like there's always pros and cons. So we're going to talk about those specifically and talk about some things that are really great at this resort that you might really love and be looking for when choosing your Disney resort, and then some cons that we ran into or that you might want to be aware of yourself. Pros, because I loved it so much, I feel like there are so many pros for me. I was just so excited to stay here overall, but I would say one of the biggest pros for this resort is the location itself. So it is one of the 3 monorail Magic Kingdom area resorts, along with Grand Floridian and Contemporary Resort. So that is really great because it's on the monorail, which means you can take the monorail to Magic Kingdom and to Epcot. And then where the Polynesian is located, you can even walk to Magic Kingdom. You can kind of walk through Grand Floridian and use that path to walk all the way to Magic Kingdom, which makes a great location overall for midday breaks with little ones, for midday breaks for yourself, and then just getting to the parks generally, not having to worry about, I know our least favorite thing to do is worry the buses. We still use the buses because it's complimentary transportation. We plan ahead accordingly, but it is our least favorite Disney transportation. So being able to avoid those when possible by walking to the resort or even just taking the monorail to 2 of the 4 parks is a really big pro of the Polynesian specifically. Not to mention, like I said, it is next to Grand Floridian, and one of my favorite break day activities is to resort explore because there is so much to see outside of the parks at Disney World. So being so close to the Grand Floridian makes it a great location to do some resort exploring as well. The next pro is just the overall theming. I know I kind of touched on this when we kicked this thing off, but I do love the tropical vibes. There's just palm trees everywhere. You can see the water. You can even see the castle castle, which kind of ties into location. I think that's such a fun thing to be able to see from your resort, especially on check-in if you're not quite going to the parks yet. It builds the excitement for the rest of the week. But that being said, with the theming, there's palm trees, you're on the water, there's sand, like sandy beachy areas with hammocks where you have that water. Obviously you're not like wading into the water like a beach, but you've got that sandy area with the hammocks where you can just go play, relax with your little ones. It builds into sort of a resort activity on your break days. Obviously the theming of the buildings, your rooms, that's got the tropical vibes to it. And as someone, again, who really loves the beach tropical vacations, having that theming to the resort, and then obviously there's the Moana theming. If you have little ones that love Moana, there's the Moana splash pad specifically. And a lot of those rooms are now rethemed and have Moana touches as well. So it's really just a great theming for if you do love those tropical vacay vibes, or if you have little ones that love Moana. It's a really fun theming at this resort. The next pro is the space and amenities. And this is kind of tying specifically into the room we stayed at, which, like I mentioned previously, we stayed in the Island Tower. And specifically for our room, we stayed in a 1-bedroom villa with a standard view. So before I dive into the layout of that, I have a quick room tour to show you guys. Room, as you can see, has so much space. It made perfect for us because I was staying with a few friends. I believe there was 5 of us in this room. So it had the pull down bed, it had a single pull down bed, and it had the king bed, which perfectly slept 5 of us. And this would be great for a family stay because you have everybody has their own space. You have that king bed for mom and dad, the bathroom that ties into that, and then there's the second bathroom. So it provides lots of space when you're getting ready in the morning, just getting ready in the evening to go to bed. Having the 2 bathrooms is a really big pro if you are a family trying to get ready, especially if you have slightly older kiddos that are getting ready on their own. They can have that second bathroom for themselves. It gives them their own space in the evening as far as having your own rooms, or if you need your littles to take a nap, you have a room where you can kind of close them off and then you can do your own thing in the living area, in the kitchen area. And speaking of the kitchen area, having that when you're planning a week-long stay at Disney, being able to order groceries, being able to cook something up or microwave something, or just have a full-size fridge to keep things, having the dining space to have breakfast in the morning before you head to the parks. It really just makes for an overall great space for a week-long plus vacation at Disney World. And with this room, we really enjoyed the balcony. Our view of the balcony, since it was standard view, we didn't have like a super great view, especially since there was some construction going on, but we did have a view of the monorail going by. So just being able to have that large patio where you can wake up in the morning, drink some coffee while everybody's still sleeping, or sit on the patio during nap time. We really loved that big spacey patio as well. Switching over to the other side of things, we're gonna talk about cons. I really only have 2 here. The first con that we're going to talk about, I just feel like I have to talk about this, while the location, the space, the theming, there's so much good about this resort. One of the biggest cons is that because it is such a great resort, I'm kind of tying these 2 together, but basically the price and availability. So because of its location and the theming and just the amenities that are offered at this resort, and it being such a deluxe resort, the pricing is pretty high and it's popular. So since it's such high demand, I feel like that makes the pricing higher. And then if it is in your budget, sometimes it's harder to find a stay or a room for your dates because of the popularity of it. So the popularity makes the cost higher. It isn't super budget friendly. It's really not very budget friendly if you're looking to stick to more of a lower budget, or you have or you're wanting to be more budget cautious going to Disney. That being said, I want to totally cancel it out because there are so many great things to this resort, but it is definitely a con to think about the pricing and the overall availability at this resort if you're trying to stay there. The second and last con that I want to touch on specifically applies to the tower. And I will say that I didn't really experience this for myself, but I've heard it talked about multiple times, and the girls that I stayed with specifically had this as a con because they stayed one more night. Basically, they went in on a Wednesday, I went in on a Thursday, so they stayed one night before me, and the night that they stayed, it was extended evening hours. So I will say more people were out late at Magic Kingdom and coming back late, but I've heard this from more than just them as well, so I feel like it needs to be mentioned, is that you can hear a lot. Again, I didn't experience this for myself, but I know they said it felt like they could hear everything going on in the room above them. Once they got back from extended evening hours, they could hear people in the hall. Overall, they just felt like the walls were very thin. And I have heard this as a kind of review for the tower specifically from other people. So if you're looking at Polynesian Resort and this would be a huge con for you, or you have littles that really need their sleep and you'd be going to sleep early, so people coming back later and you potentially hearing them would be a problem, maybe don't look into the tower specifically, maybe look into some of the other rooms at the Polynesian Resort. But again, I didn't experience this firsthand, but I've heard it multiple times. The girls I was staying with experienced this, so I feel like I definitely have to mention this as a con or disclaimer of the tower specifically. Again, overall, I really enjoyed this resort. It is a resort that I will go back to, and I cannot wait to go back to in the future. Obviously, there are a couple things to keep in mind, a couple disclaimers, maybe avoiding the tower specifically, or doing sort of a split stay where you're in the tower some, Polynesian Village rooms, or maybe doing sort of a split stay where you only stay in this tower a couple nights, but you're at the resort itself the whole time to kind of maybe balance out some of those cons. Could be something for you to look into. But again, overall, I really recommend this resort. The location, the theming, all of those pros really make it such a great resort to stay at. As a reminder, part of my complimentary travel services are helping my families decide which resorts are best for them, weighing the pros and cons and just seeing what makes the most sense for exactly what they're looking for in their Disney vacation. So I will leave my link below for when you're ready to start choosing your resort and planning your Disney vacation. If this was helpful, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more resort reviews, rundowns, overviews of resorts that I'm experienced firsthand to bring back my feedback, pros and cons to you. And comment below any other questions that you might have about Disney's Polynesian Village Resort or Island Tower specifically. Until next time, keep chasing the moments that make your family's magic. Bye.